What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Cannonballs podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Dane Cannon. Co-hosting with me today is...
Yo, boy. Jake Bo's on the mic, 1, 2. What up? What's poppin'? What's happening, y'all?
And guys, we're going to do something a little different again. So if you guys have been listening to our podcast recently, you know that we're kind of doing this series where we break down every division and AFC, NFC, and we give them a grade kind of postseason. We're still going to be doing that. We're going to be doing the AFC and NFC West. But this episode, we're actually going to be breaking down some free agency really quick, just because today was like the first huge day of like breaking news. You know, teams are signing players. A lot of changes. There's a lot of changes that are going on. And so Jake and I kind of wanted to grade some of the major, bigger signings. You know, we're not going to talk about every minor signing. You know, there's some, linebackers or some players, guards that we're not going to touch on per se. We might get into some of them, some of the bigger name players, but, we're going to be breaking down free agency as of today, which I think is the 13th. And
Yes.
There's going to be more free agency signings. It's going to go on for a little bit. So maybe Jake and I will have a free agency episode every week for as long as free agency is going on. It goes on for quite some time, later signings and everything. So we'll try and break it down for you guys, give you guys our grades and our thoughts and opinions. Jake, do you have anything to add before we get going?
Yeah, no, I'm ready. It looks like there's almost every team has been pretty active. I think there's definitely maybe 6 to 10 major signings in the NFL. But it looks like every team has at least one pretty big signing. I'm just going to start at the very top. Excuse me. We're going to start with the Buffalo Bills. I guess their biggest extension was Matt Milano. Nothing too big, crazy there. We don't even have to go through there unless you want to. Dane, do you want to? Or just skip that one?
Not particularly. Yeah. It's a good extension, I think.
All right. So we'll go to the other teams in their division because all three of the other teams kind of made pretty big splash, either re-signings or trades. The biggest one, probably one of the biggest ones in the entire NFL was Miami Dolphins are acquiring Jalen Ramsey from Los Angeles for a 2023 third-round pick and tight end Hunter Long. And right off the bat, that's a huge signing.
It is.
They already have Xavier Howard on the other side. Jalen Ramsey is still, top of his game. I think he kind of had an off year, but the entire Rams team kind of had an off year. So I'm going to let him slide. I still think he is an elite talent. I still think he's probably, if not the best corner in the game right now, probably the second or third. But he's still, an elite defender. And, Xavier Howard is a really good cornerback as well. So I think this is a huge signing for the Dolphins. And I think for the fact that they got him for a third-round pick.
Round pick, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. So I guess we could so we don't have to cover the Rams because they really didn't do too much. But I want to give both teams a grade for this trade. Okay. And I'm giving the Dolphins an A. I think it's
the Dolphins an A as well because you're getting a first-round talent, like top 5 cornerback in the NFL as of today, and you're getting them for a third-round pick. Third round, second day in the draft is kind of hit or miss. They're more project players. You have faith in these players to kind of build them up, coach them up to meet your scheme and, develop over time. Jalen Ramsey's ready to go. He's a bona fide cornerback. He's going to be just great. And like you already said, him and Xavier Howard, that's going to be a lethal duo in the secondary. And not only that, I do want to touch on this one really quick also. They also got Mike White from the New York Jets as well. So I think that's actually kind of a huge signing for Miami because with Tua's health.
Sorry to interrupt, but that's a
It's a sneaky good
pickup.
trade as well because with Tua's health in question, Mike White has shown that he's more than capable of being a competent quarterback. So I think Miami is making some really good moves right now. So yeah, with Jalen Ramsey, I'm going to give it an A for Miami for sure. If we're going to the Rams side, I mean, for a third round pick, I know that it's kind of hard because he expressed that he wanted to leave. So it's kind of hard to get anything more than a third round, but I can't give it anything higher than like a C minus, dude. Like, I just don't
think
like
that's
it.
Generous.
Yeah,
I think that's way generous.
Like, you get more draft capital, I get it, but a third round pick, come on, man. Like, I would have at least have liked to have seen like a second round pick.
I think they could have gone a second round for him. I think a C is way too generous. Although I'm not really 100% sure what the Rams draft picks were looking like. I mean, they could have had the way the way the Rams have been, wheeling and dealing the last couple of years. I feel like they didn't have a pick until the 5th round or something like that. So I guess we would have to look at their total draft picks and when they were originally first going to pick. So if they were going to like draft in the 4th or the 5th, a third is, good for them, but still a third for Jalen Ramsey. I'm giving this, I have to give it a D. Like it's not that bad, like complete failure, but like, damn, like I said, Jalen Ramsey is a top 10 defender in the league. And I think you could have gone at least a second. So, but I like the move because I do think the Rams are kind of
rebuilding.
Yeah, and
they gotta address the cap situation, and Jalen Ramsey is not a cheap cornerback. So I think for that reason, that's why I'm keeping it at like a C minus. Like, I'm not saying it's a solid C. It's not that for me. It's like a 70%. It's like borderline D plus, but you have to make it so your team is cap compliant, and Jalen Ramsey is a huge cap casualty. So you get some draft capital back, so it's not a complete loss, but you're losing one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. So A for Miami, C minus for me for the Rams.
Yep. All right. So I guess the other two teams, they just had re-signings. I'm not really going to give them a grade. Cornerback Jonathan Jones, he had a really good last year, and the Patriots re-signed him to a 2-year, $20 million deal. So, it's a good signing. It's a lot of money for, someone who could be on the rise. So good for them. And then I want to grade the Jets re-signing more than the Patriots, I think. Unless you wanted to grade that one, Dane.
No, I'm okay.
All right. So Quincy Williams, he's signing a 3-year, $18 million deal. So I think this is a pretty good signing for them. Quincy Williams and his brother Quinnen, they've been balling out in New York. So I think, they deserve to get paid. So I like the re-signing. And you know what? I don't think I'm gonna give this one a grade either. I just wanted to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, I think that this is kind of where the baseline for the linebacker market's going to be around $6 million a year. You'll probably see some linebackers get paid a little bit more who are more coveted, but I think that if we're talking about just your average linebacker, he's good, but he's not like an elite talent. Let's be real. Yep. Like he's not going to change your defense drastically, but he can do his part. He's stable. He's going to be what you need and get things done. But he's not going to go above and beyond and win you like a game entirely on his own. So I think $6 million, 3 years, not a bad deal. I think that he's right where it should be.
Yeah. Well, just breaking news. Texans are signing 49ers, Jimmy Ward. I kind of figured he was going to end up there.
With D'Amico?
Yeah, so, he's going to Houston Texans, so good for him. It's a good pickup. He's a great player. Very unsung, but going to miss him. All right, sorry, back in order. We're at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Patrick Peterson signed a 2-year deal, $14 million. Patrick Peterson has had his moments where when he first started, he was at the top of the top.
Age is definitely catching up to him.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say.
I think he had a pretty decent last
He
year.
did. He's definitely one of the most flagged cornerbacks though, because he is very hands-on for a cornerback, and he will get called quite frequently. His coverage grade was actually pretty good last year. He did his part, but he is definitely on the decline. I think he's like Stephon Gilmore for me. He's been really good in the past, but how many more years are you able to squeeze out of him? Because he's in his 30s now, isn't he?
He's got to be pretty close.
I think he's like 30 or 31, if I'm not mistaken.
He is age 32.
He's 32. Yeah, exactly. So he's up there in age, especially for a cornerback. You're going to start losing a step, especially with these younger age wide receivers. A lot of them are burners, man. And you got to be able to keep up with them. They're fast, they're quick, they're agile. And I think that his coverage grade is good and he can use his experience to his advantage. But how much is that going to help if he just has a straight vertical threat? It's going to be challenging.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. All right. So next team, we got the Houston Texans. They kind of been making some, not like huge moves, but they've been definitely making some moves lately. Like I said, they just are expected to sign Jimmy Ward. He's a really good defender. Hopefully help boost that young defense. But they signed Robert Woods to a 2-year deal, which was pretty interesting to me. I feel like Robert Woods didn't really get
a fair shot.
Great opportunity. Yeah, I feel like he didn't get. He got traded to the Titans, correct?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, so and the Titans are just a run-happy team, and I don't think he got a fair shot to show what he's good at. There's that time where Robert Woods was,
when he
really
was on
good
the Rams,
receiver.
he was good.
Yeah,
he went to a Super Bowl with the Rams, and a lot of it was off of his production.
Mm-hmm. So that's a sneaky good signing for me. Let me know when you want to give some of these some grades. I'm just kind of like,
these ones are kind of. It's not like breaking news, like a big name. Like Robert Woods is a good receiver. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like, holy shit, Austin Eckler just randomly got traded from the Chargers and he's on the Broncos or something. That would be breaking news, which is a possibility because he wants to interview or test the free agent market. So we'll see what happens with that because that would be big.
Yeah, so a couple other small signings after the Texans, but speaking of the Broncos, I think they kind of made one of the biggest signings of the day so far.
McGlinchey?
Yeah, yep. So they signed Mike McGlinchey to a 5-year, $87.5 million deal, which includes $50 million guaranteed.
Yeah, that's big.
I kind of want to grade this one.
Let's grade it because this one is a pretty decent size splash signing.
So, all right, I'm gonna take the reins on this one. So I'm gonna mix feelings about this because I love Mike McGlinchey. He's from Notre Dame. The 49ers drafted him, and he's been a solid right tackle. I don't think he's been an elite right tackle. I think he's made maybe one Pro Bowl. Shoot, I don't think he's made any Pro Bowls now I think about it. But he's been solid. He's been a really solid. He excels in the run game. He's average in the passing game. So it's and the reason for the 49ers didn't re-sign him is because he was thought to be one of the most coveted tackles in this year's free agency. So honestly, I think the man kind of lucked out with kind of a weak market. I think he was the best of what was available, and he got the bag, man. He got $50 million guaranteed, and he was. A lot of 49ers. I don't think he was as bad as some 49ers fans think he was, but if you had to pinpoint the weak spot on the offensive line for the 49ers, it was definitely Mike McGlinchey. I don't think he was as terrible as some people think he was. I think he was slightly above average. But we have to give this a grade. And personally, I think it's a lot of money. a lot of money for someone who is just above average. I think he truly lucked out with how weak the market was, and he got paid. So for me, I mean, it was good for the Broncos because they definitely needed some offensive line help to help Russell Wilson out. But I just feel like it's a lot of money. So for me, I'm giving it like a C plus. I just think it's a lot of money.
See, I'm a little bit lower, surprisingly, than you on this one. It's tough because you're paying him left tackle money. Like right tackle is like an important spot, but Russell Wilson, his blind spot is still the left side. And so I feel like if you're going to be paying that kind of money to a tackle, it should be the left tackle. You're putting too much money on the right side. And it's not that I think right tackle isn't important. It is. Trust me, as a Chargers fan, I know all about right tackle problems. I've seen it for years on end. But like you said, man, it's a lot of freaking money. And that's a lot of guaranteed money. So it's like how much of that cap is going to one player, especially for a right tackle. And not only that, like you're probably going to lose Jerry Jeudy. Like he's probably going to test the market. He's probably going to get picked up, I would imagine. I don't know, man. Like, and you're already giving so much money to Russell Wilson. And so it's like Russell Wilson, who had a bad year, and then a slightly above average right tackle. That's a lot of money in two positions that, you know, one of them is very important in the quarterback position, but he didn't perform well. I don't know how much Mike McGlinchey is going to help Russell Wilson. I mean, maybe he'll give him more time than this last year, but yeah, I'm about a C, just an average C. Like it's not great, but it's not bad. Like you need a right tackle. You need offensive line help. I get that. I just, like you said, he was pretty lucky with the market that there was for right tackle. So I'm going to go C.
Real quick before we move on, they definitely did help Russell Wilson in this free agency. They also signed Ben Powers to a 4-year, $52 million deal that includes $28.5 million. So, yeah, they're definitely giving Russell Wilson some help, and they signed a backup tight end. So, I guess good for Russell Wilson. All right, here's another pretty big signing. Geez. All right, where's this man from? Oh, okay. All right, so another team in your division, Dane. Kansas City Chiefs signed Jawan Taylor, formerly of the Jacksonville Jaguars, to a 4-year, $80 million deal. It includes $60 million guaranteed, so a little bit higher than Mike McGlinchey. Honestly, I can't really give this a huge grade, or I can't really give this a grade because I'm not really familiar with Jawan Taylor. You know,
I think
but
Jawan
if he's
Taylor
getting that,
I think he had a really good year last year. I'm not going to lie.
yeah, I mean, and I like it. You know, you got Patrick Mahomes. You've kind of lost some offensive line players throughout the last couple of years. So I like it for the Chiefs. Just like, goddamn, that's a lot of money. I don't know. Sometimes contracts F me up because I feel like that's so much money going to one player. But then sometimes, you know, it just works out. So, you know, pretty big signing right there. I do want to talk about this one. All right. One of the bigger quarterbacks. I think it's more controversial, if anything. The Las Vegas Raiders signed Jimmy Garoppolo to a 3-year, $72.75 million deal. It includes $24.25 million in the first year, and I think it was something like 30 of it was guaranteed. So where are you feeling? What are you feeling on this signing?
I'm going to be honest. I thought they could have gone a different route for quarterback. Nothing against Jimmy G. I think he's serviceable, but I don't think it's an improvement over Derek Carr. I genuinely don't. I think Derek Carr has a better arm. I think Jimmy might be smarter in certain aspects, but I feel like you're getting a very similar player. And I don't know if it was just like front office stuff as to why Derek Carr wasn't getting the bag, why he was getting traded. Maybe they wanted a new face of the franchise, but I feel that it's a very lateral move. I feel that they're very similar in the way that they play the game. I don't know, man. I'm not that impressed. And I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible because I know that it's the Raiders. I don't know, man. You're paying a decent amount of money to a quarterback who's he's good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's been to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that he can't do it, and he's got offensive pieces with the Raiders. I just feel like it's a very lateral move. I think he's another Derek Carr. I really do. So I'd give it a C-.
Well, I'm just letting you know right now, I completely agree with you. I do think it is a very lateral move. It might be. Personally, I think Derek Carr does have a bigger arm, but I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a better quarterback. But barely. That is emphasis on the barely. I 100% agree with you. I think the Raiders just needed a change of scene. I think Derek Carr needed a change of scene. I mean, I don't think this team. I don't think Jimmy Garoppolo vastly improves this team. I don't think the Raiders are a better team than the 49ers. I think if the Raiders think that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to come in and save them and turn their franchise around, I think they're going to be sadly mistaken. What I do like about it is Jimmy Garoppolo has had experience with Josh McDaniels. I think they were together for like the first 3 or 4 years of his career. So I like that, and I like Devontae Adams, but again, I think Derek Carr has a bigger arm. But I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a little bit more accurate in the short game. But I think Devontae Adams, I don't think he sounded too happy about the whole Jimmy Garoppolo signing. Some cryptic messages, if you guys follow that stuff. I don't remember what it said, but it was something, don't talk to me. I don't want to talk about Jimmy Garoppolo coming to the Raiders. Yeah, no, if I had to grade this, you gave this a C?
Minus.
C-? Yeah. I don't think it's a lot of money, honestly. I think he got way more money when he was first signed with the 49ers. So I think it's kind of like an okay deal. It's just would you rather roll with Jimmy Garoppolo or would you rather roll with, a no-name quarterback who hasn't started in, forever how many long years?
I mean, I'd rather start with Jimmy G. Like, don't get me wrong. I think they should have stuck with Derek Carr, honestly.
I do too, but then I also get where
they had to pay him more.
Yeah, they would have had to pay him a lot more, and I think they kind of just burned that relationship, honestly, at the end of the season. So I don't think Derek Carr was coming back. How things ended last year for the team and Derek Carr. But you said C-?
Yep.
Yeah, I'll give it a C- as well. No, I'll give it a C. I think it's just average, nothing special. I wish Jimmy the most luck, but I just and another thing is like I think Derek Carr is a more healthy quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Derek Carr has had like one serious injury, and Jimmy Garoppolo's like had one full season being healthy in the NFL in his 9 years. So yeah, I just don't really love the move, but you know what? They needed a quarterback. So all right. You want to talk about the Eric Kendricks signing?
I mean, we can. So this is something that just happened just a couple minutes ago. The Chargers signed former All-Pro linebacker from Minnesota, Eric Kendricks. It's okay. I don't know, man. It's tough because I really wanted to retain Drew Tranquill. I think that we could have had a somewhat manageable deal with him, especially because the linebacker market isn't too expensive. But, it's kind of like when we had Kaiser White and then he goes to the Eagles and balls out. He had a great year with us the year before he leaves. Drew Tranquill had one of the healthiest seasons he's had in a while, and he balled out. Great in coverage, decent against the run, definitely missed some things. But I don't know, man. What are they paying him? Did you see that?
There was no details. It just says Eric Kendrick signed with the Chargers.
Okay. When the money comes out, I'll probably give it a grade. I mean, it's not that big of a signing. You know, it's a linebacker, and linebackers are kind of not outdated, but they're not as utilized as they used to be back in the day. Like this isn't like Brian Urlacher and Ray Lewis type middle linebacker play anymore. I feel that the edge position outside linebacker is kind of taking the front runner of importance when it comes to drafting and like where the strengths of a defense lie now. Don't get me wrong, like middle linebacker is still important, but I don't know. I need to see the money before I give it a grade.
Yeah. All right. So on the NFC side of the ball, this one happened last week. Another big quarterback signing, and I'm kind of looking forward to grading this one with you. Daniel Jones signed a 4-year, $160 million deal with $35 million in incentives. So, real quick, would you rather have a cheaper Jimmy G or an expensive Daniel Jones on your team?
I would take Jimmy G every day.
See, I'm right there with you. I agree 100%. I don't really get this signing, or I don't really get this type of money. And I think this is the exact thing that the Raiders didn't want to do with Derek Carr, because they would have had to pay him probably a lot of money.
And he had an okay season. It was his best season by far, and it wasn't great. I mean, he stopped the fumbling as much as he did, but they have to believe in Brian Dable that he's like some quarterback guru who can just mold and shape Daniel Jones into the quarterback that he wants him to be.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a huge signing. I like it because, you know, they're not giving up on the kid. They're kind of hopefully building off of what he did last year. It's just a lot of money, man. I mean,
he's tied for the 7th highest quarterback in the NFL.
That's crazy to me, man. But then again, I mean, maybe it's cheaper in the long run instead of, you know, going out and trading for Aaron Rodgers or, you know, something like that.
I mean, with the quarterback market, I feel like it just gets more expensive every year. And like with the cap situation, it's not a terrible signing, but Daniel Jones is not worth that money to me. He is not worth being paid the 7th highest or tied for the 7th highest quarterback in the NFL. Yeah. No way. No fucking shot. Yeah. I would say maybe 15th highest. He's an average quarterback.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's way too much money. So with that, I'm giving it I'm going to give it a D+. I just think it's way too much money.
Yeah, I think I'm around a D+ as well. I like the consistency. So you're keeping and retaining a quarterback who already knows the system. But now you also have Saquon Barkley, who's on the franchise tag, thinking like, damn, bro, I'm way better than my quarterback, and he's making bank, and I'm put on a franchise tag. So is that going to affect his mindset as a running back? Like, why am I not getting the bag? I had one of my breakout seasons also. I came back. I could have been like comeback player of the year type shit. You know, so I don't know. I may be looking too far into this, but yeah, man, D+. It's okay. Maybe he can make us eat our words. Maybe he'll prove us wrong and be a top 10 quarterback. That's saying a lot. If Brian Dable can mold him into like a great quarterback, and, you know, the Giants go back to the playoffs back-to-back years, and Daniel Jones is throwing like 3 touchdowns a game, over averaging 225 yards, I'll take that. And then I will say that I was wrong, and he might be worth the money. But if you're getting subpar performance, you know, statistically speaking, and like just how it benefits the team, then this is going to be right where we think with a D+, because if you're not winning games and you're paying this quarterback this type of money, something's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty reasonable grade. I mean, I just think there's so much unknown with Daniel Jones. And I mean, he's shown,
I think he's good with his legs. I'll give him that.
To me, he's shown very little to receive that kind of contract. I think they're definitely, you know, putting all their eggs in a basket or whatever you want to call it. I think it's a risk. And then if he does improve, then good. I think he's got to vastly improve for me to justify that type of money. But besides Daniel Jones, the Giants did sign a couple linebackers and defensive players, so good for them. I'm just going to skip by some of these ones. Jason Kelce signed another year, a 1-year deal, so he's coming back.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be his last year before he retires.
Yeah.
Give him a chance to run it back.
Yeah, this is Eagles, by the way. The Brandon Graham are also signed a 1-year deal worth up to $6 million. And then the Washington Commanders, they made quite a bit of a splash in signing, at least. They signed Andrew Wiley to a 3-year, $24 million contract. He's an offensive lineman or offensive tackle. They signed Nick Gates to a 3-year, $16.5 million. So that's big for the offensive line. Only problem is who's playing quarterback. Who's that rookie they had last year? I forget his name.
You're talking about Sam Howell?
Yeah, Sam Howell. So hopefully, they can protect him. He is a young guy. I think the biggest one for them, he
only played one game. I mean, it was pretty much Heineke the entire season mixed with Carson Wentz. So yeah. Sam Howell played one game. They have to believe in him, at least give him a shot, which they're doing. So
yep. And they will get a chance to protect him. The biggest one for the Commanders, though, first they gave Darren Payne the franchise tag, but then they later signed him to a 4-year, $90 million.
Yeah.
$45 million guaranteed and $60 million in total guarantees, and a $28 million signing bonus. So I think he's the second highest paid interior defensive lineman behind Aaron Donald. And he was like the number 1 or 2 defensive lineman in this free agency. I know a lot of teams were looking at him. He's a beast. I mean, that's good for that Commanders defense. So he is a beast. So good signing, I think. And then this one was probably the biggest one. Chicago. They trade the DJ. Yeah. Well, they acquired DJ Moore and they trade the number 1 overall pick to the Carolina Panthers for the number 9 in this year's draft, a second-round pick, the number 61 in this year's draft, a 2024 first-rounder, and a 2025 second-rounder.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. That's a haul. I'm going to grade this right now. That's an A+ by Chicago. That is an A fucking plus. I mean, you are getting another receiver, and who knows, maybe you can unlock him and prove why he's a good receiver. We'll see. We'll see what this offense can do now that they have another good receiver. But just dropping 8 spots in the draft, you're still going to get a really good player. And this shows that they don't want a quarterback. They're going to ride with Justin Fields. So now I'm assuming that they're probably either going to go tackle or they're going to go defense. And you also get multiple future draft picks, which is huge. Huge. So this is definitely this is a good start to rebuilding this franchise. And I think by the year 2025, they might have a squad. That's not this year. That's not next year. That's in 3 years.
That's 3 years? Okay, that's a while to think about. I'm not even going to think about that. But I love the trade for the Bears. I definitely thought that the Bears would think about either, trading what the hell is his name? Justin Fields. Jesus. I thought they would either trade Justin Fields or trade the pick, and boom, they did it. And they got 2 first-round picks out of it. They got 2 second-round picks out of it, and they got a player. They're getting kind of everybody's leftover trash. I mean, I don't think the Steelers wanted Chase Claypool last year. Obviously, they traded him. The Panthers didn't want DJ Moore. They traded him. So, it is, a change of scenery. Who's the coach for the Bears? I forgot. Is it
Sure?
Yeah.
I don't remember his name.
They don't have a new coach.
Sorry, Chicago fans.
I want to say Matt Nagy, but I know it's definitely not that.
Matt Nagy was gone. Here, I'll look.
Damn, who's the coach?
Matt Eberflus.
Matt Eberflus. All right. So, he's got some new toys to play with. So good for the Bears. Hopefully they can just capitalize on what Justin Fields did last year. But yeah, I'm right there with you. This is an A+ for the Bears. On the Panther side of the ball, from what I hear, they're like enamored with CJ Stroud. And if that's their guy, dude, I guess good for them. He probably would have been gone by the time they picked.
Sure would have been gone.
Yeah.
Like,
so
if they believe in him as much as they say and are reporting they do, then I have to give this. I would give them a B. Like, you're still giving up a lot to move up, but if you believe that CJ Stroud could be one of these generational talents, I don't personally see it. I think that he could be a good quarterback. And I mean, we saw what he did when he played Georgia. He lit them up. And, he has the ability. He has a big arm. He showed out at the combine. So if they really believe in CJ Stroud, then good for them. I would give it a solid B. I'm not going to go higher than that because that is a lot of draft capital. And I just don't see CJ Stroud being like the greatest quarterback. This isn't like moving up to get an Andrew Luck, in my opinion. I think he's solid, but I don't think he's elite. So to give up that much, I got to knock it a little bit. But going up to the first overall pick, get your guy. So I'm going to give it a B.
Yeah, I mean, whoever they get, I mean, they're going to have their choice. So whether it's Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Anderson, is that his name?
I mean, that's a defensive player. You're thinking of Anthony Richardson, the quarterback.
Anthony Richardson, Jesus. Florida. Thank you.
Will Levis from Kentucky, who's also a quarterback.
Yeah, so they're going to have their pick of whoever they want. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go – it is a lot of draft capital, but you know what? If they just wanted to get their guy, then, good for them. So I'm also giving it a B.
Okay. Cool.
All right, and – a couple of signings here and there, nothing big. Let's see. I guess kind of interesting. Jonnu Smith got traded to the Falcons from the Patriots for a 7th-round pick. Kind of interesting.
Falcons also made another move, right? They got a defensive tackle, right?
Oh, yes. Chris Lynn. Oh, that is a big one. Thank you, Dane. Yeah. Missed that one. Chris Lindstrom from the. Oh no, he is from the Falcons.
That's a guard, but David Onyemata. Is that how you pronounce his name? Onyemata.
Defensive end or defensive lineman.
Yeah, from the Saints. That's pretty decent. I actually like that.
Yeah. So you got him. Onyemata signed a 3-year, $35 million. 24.5 guaranteed. Holy shit. But the Chris Lindstrom, he signed a 5-year, $105 million extension.
Yeah.
So that's a big signing. Tampa Bay Bucks re-signed Jamel Dean, so that's good. And now we're down to Cardinals haven't done anything. Rams just traded. We already talked about that. And finally, the last big one, I would say, 49ers signed Javon Hargrave.
Just revamped this defensive line. My God.
I wouldn't say revamped. I would just say fucking improved. Like, I mean, they had both. The thing is, like, they had in that 3 technique where Hargrave is going to play, like, they kind of just had a rotation of players. Javon Kinlaw never really stepped up. Due to injuries, unfortunately. But now they're going to have Bosa, Hargrave, Armstead, and then I think the biggest person who benefits from this is Drake Jackson. I mean, he's got 3.
I am so excited to see Drake Jackson in his second year.
Dude, I really am. I mean, he's got 3 really good linemen to play against. If he is getting one-on-ones, he's going to freaking eat, bro. I mean, we could grade this one. I think it's a pretty big signing. But, it's a 4-year, $84 million deal, includes $40 million. So it is a lot of money. But, for everything I've seen, this is a double-digit sack in the defensive line or an interior, which is – that's hard to do. This is an A, solid A for me. It's just, yeah, I mean, they're really just improving the shit out of that defense. So that front 7 is just even more nastier than it was.
So I'm going to give this a solid B+. The whole reason why I said revamp is, you know how like Alabama, everyone always says, oh, they don't rebuild, they reload. Like they just reload like good talent. And like you're getting a really good interior defensive line talent. But I think for me personally, I just feel like anyone who plays on the defensive line for the 49ers, they coach them so well that they're just like made to play the defensive line. They're great against the run. They're great against the pass. You know, it is an upgrade. I will give it that. I just think that you are also losing a couple pieces on the defense and offensive line. So, I mean, this defensive line is going to be top 3 again. Like, it's just going to be one of the best defensive lines. I like the grade a lot, but I'm not going to give it the A tier yet because I don't know. I want to see it in action. I loved what he did.
So, pretty much you're hating. I feel like you're hating.
Why do you think I'm hating?
Because if this is a double-digit sack defensive lineman, we just talked about how hard that is to do. The entire defensive line of the Eagles, that was the number 1 unit. That was the number 1 defensive line in the unit. You
Correct.
go to a already freaking really good team.
Yes.
With the defensive line coach, like you just said, he is known as the best defensive line coach in the NFL. So I just don't understand how
It's not an
all-pro, an all-pro player going to an already stacked team already stacked team. How that doesn't improve.
No.
Defense.
I'm not saying that it doesn't. The reason I don't think that it's necessarily going to improve it to maybe that A tier is because we saw with Philadelphia, you had the best defensive line, and yet they couldn't get a pass rush going against Mahomes. I'm not saying that that's going to be the case for every game. Obviously, he's going to eat. This entire defensive line is going to eat. But you're also losing Jimmy Ward. I'm sure that, money is going to have to be put elsewhere. You also lose a right tackle. So it's like, how much is it going to improve this roster to the point of like going back to the Super Bowl? I think it's solid. I gave it a B fucking plus. It's right under the A tier. But like, say for example, you got like Jalen Ramsey. I feel like I just feel like it would have a bigger impact because your defensive line was already stacked. So it's like, how much better is it going to actually make it? Like, I get it, like all pro, double-digit sack on the interior, but it's like you also had elite talent on all over the defensive line. So is it going to make it even better, or is it going to stay about the same as where it was previously in 2022? Like, how much better can it be? That's why I said I want to wait and see. Like, I think you guys had great interior defensive linemen to begin with, so I want to see how much better he is. So that's why I'm giving it a B plus.
I think it could be a lot better. Like,
it very well
with
could
the
be.
fact,
I think it very well could be.
That's just like they did great at what's the word? Cycling out in that second defensive lineman next to Eric Armstead. And when Eric Armstead missed some time last year, so I think they did great. Like you said, they have a lot of depth on the D line, but I think this could be like that 2019 D line, and we saw how dominant that D line we saw how dominant a D line can be. Like, how am I saying? If you have a dominant D line, it makes everybody in the back end's job way easier. So I think that's why they're going with some younger guys. And the Jimmy Ward one, that one kind of hurts a little bit, but I mean, we have young guys, and he probably wanted way more money than they were willing to pay him, and they still have to pay Nick Bosa. So I just like the grade, or I like the pickup. I think it's gonna be nasty. I think it's gonna be fun.
Here's what I want to say. I feel like you're upset at me because I didn't give it an A, which is a biased opinion. It's solid. A B plus is fucking solid.
Who said I'm upset? I'm just saying that I don't
You're like, I think that, this should basically be an A, Dane. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It should be an A. That's a terrible grade. That's a terrible grade. You are giving every team in your division bad grades because they're in your division.
You gave them bad grades. What the fuck are you talking about?
I gave the Rams the same grade, or one spot lower than you gave the Rams. The Rams giving Jalen Ramsey, like who you just said could greatly improve a defense for a 3rd round pick, and you give them a what? A C minus? How is that not a bad grade?
We talked about the Rams, right? Giving them a C
Yeah,
minus.
that's what I'm talking about. So how is that not a bad grade?
What are you talking about?
That's what I'm saying. You're saying I'm biased. Well, when I'm grading my teams, the only person who made a trade today was the Rams.
I gave the Dolphins an A.
Well, I'm not talking about the Dolphins. I'm talking about the Rams.
Yes, they lost a player. That's why I graded them harshly.
You gave them a C.
Minus.
For Jalen Ramsey, top 10 player.
The reason I gave it a C minus, Jake, is yes, top 10 player, but it's like you have to consider the capital in this, like how much money he is expected to make.
I get that, but you don't think they could have gotten a second at all.
No,
you don't think they could have gotten a second.
They could have gotten a second. Jake,
so that's
C
what I'm
minus
saying.
is, I said, a 70%. I
think that's a bad trade when you could have gotten a
trade. It's
okay, and all I'm saying
on what grades are bad differ. Like a C minus is not good. You gave it what? Plus?
A C minus is mediocre. I think that is better than bad. I think bad is D to F. D to F. Anything in between is C. If it's you don't like, but like when we graded Jimmy G, it was It wasn't that great. It wasn't that bad. So it was a C. I think the Rams trading one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL for a 3rd round pick is a bad trade.
I think we differ in C's. So, or like minus, regular, and then plus. So like a C minus, a C, and then a C plus. You're kind of all categorizing them as a C.
I just said a C is something in the middle.
Yes, but I'm saying like a
C
minus is below that. So that's what I'm saying. Like I'm not categorizing all C's the same. Like a C minus is damn near D plus. But it's like I have to differentiate between a C minus and a regular C. Like a C is C minus is bad. But that's where my grading scale comes in. Because it's like a minus makes it worse than average.
I don't give a shit if you think the 49ers signing is a A or a B. I just think it's a good signing. So that's why I'm giving it an A.
I think it's a good signing as well.
All right. I think our grading scales are a little different, but
they are very different. Absolutely.
I think yours are a little weak, but it's all good.
Jake's getting frustrated, ladies and gentlemen.
Dane is crying because he thinks I'm mad at him, ladies and gentlemen. Dane wants to make up because he thinks I'm mad at him, so he might.
Do you want to make out
off camera? Do you want to make out?
Maybe.
I'm ready, dude. All right, but after that, I think that's the last pretty big signing, unless I missed anything.
I think that is the last big one. I mean, we could talk about Lamar Jackson on the franchise tag if you wanted. I don't know if you want to discuss that.
We might as well.
Because that is controversial. You know, to put him on the franchise tag says a lot about what they think about him. And I get it because he's missed time recently. And other than his one MVP season, I don't think he's done enough. But I still would rather have him than Daniel Jones. Honestly.
Yeah, I agree with that. See, I mean, I've been watching a lot of stuff on Lamar Jackson. And how do I say this? I think people think Lamar Jackson is better than he is. And I'm not saying Lamar Jackson's bad. I think he's probably a top 10 quarterback. Yeah, I would say he's a top 10 quarterback. Would you agree with that?
I think that it depends on the way you use him. Like if he was just a straight drop back quarterback passing game, absolutely not. But the way that he's utilized in the option, the running attack, I think you could make an argument that he would be top 10. Yes.
Yeah. So I think the way that the Ravens were using him, I see him as a top 10 quarterback. That means running, throwing.
I mean, they definitely based the offensive scheme around him, and they play to his strengths. So I agree. But it also shows the weaknesses when he doesn't have a wide receiver to throw it to. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's a top 10 quarterback in my view. But the thing is, just because he's a top 10 quarterback, I don't think he should be paid like a top 10 quarterback. I'm probably saying this all wrong, but I just don't see the accuracy there. He, like you said, he had that good 2019. Was it 2019? 2019 he had that MVP.
Yeah.
And then after that, what has he done? Can anybody answer that? I mean, he's been injured. He's not the most accurate quarterback. I don't know. It's hard because I know he wants to be paid like a top 5 quarterback, and I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the Ravens pay him, and it shows that they're not going to. So it's a tricky situation with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. I don't know. What else do you think? Do you think he's going to sign with the Ravens? Do you think?
I don't think he signs with the Ravens next year. I personally don't. I think that he goes through free agency and another team signs him. I think that there's going to be a suitor out there that'll fit him and fit the team that wants him. I just think that there's so much that the Ravens want to do that is kind of limited because they want to pass the ball more. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's the wide receivers that he had. Don't get me wrong. Like, he didn't have like shit to throw to. Mm-hmm. But you have Mark Andrews, arguably top 3 tight end in the NFL. Good running attack, great defense year after year. Like, the defense always comes to play. And there's not much to show for it. I mean, injuries recently has kind of derailed the seasons, at least the last 2. So it's a tough predicament. I don't necessarily disagree with the franchise tag. I don't know, man. It's just tough. Like, Lamar Jackson has elite talent, but he's not an elite quarterback, if that makes sense. Like, he has all the intangibles and the athleticism.
That was a great way to say it. That's what I was trying to think of, a way to say it. Like, he's a great talent. He's a great athlete. He can change the game, but sometimes that's not what a quarterback is.
Right.
You know, a quarterback needs to throw the ball most important. Like, that's what a quarterback is. Like, otherwise you're just Jimmy G back there and you're handing the ball off 80% of the time and then dinking and dunking. I mean, they could have signed him, but I just think Lamar needs to really improve on the passing game, and then stay healthy. And I agree with you that I don't really necessarily agree with the franchise tag, because if he can prove that he's worth the money, if he goes out this year and gets another MVP or, you know, multiple playoff wins, then fuck yeah, dude. He's proven that he can do it. He just needs to stay healthy. It's just a tricky situation. But I don't know. I don't think he signs with the Ravens. That's my personal opinion.
Neither.
Tricky situation, folks.
Is there anything else, or is that it?
I think that's everything on free agency so far. You know, again, there's like minor signings that Jake and I didn't really touch on, and we apologize if you guys were excited about them. We kind of touched on the big names, but, you know, we're already approaching that hour mark into this episode. So, guys, stay tuned. We're going to be doing more free agency videos. We'll probably do one next week because there's going to be a lot more moves. Like, free agency just is getting going. So stay tuned. There's going to be more moves. And I have a feeling Austin Ekeler's going to be part of that, unfortunately, for Chargers fans. But guys, you know, like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications on, hit us up on our Instagram, Cannonballs with a Z_podcast. Jake is continuing to put out those reels for you guys with animations. He's putting in a lot of work, so hopefully you guys can go check that out. We'd appreciate it. Jake, do you have anything to add before we get out of here? Yeah, thanks for listening. You know, hopefully your guys' teams signed someone good. I think it's been pretty exciting. There's been a lot of big signing so far, and I think we're about a month away from the draft, Dane?
Yeah, we're getting close to the month mark. Yeah.
So month away from the draft, and we've already had, the first overall pick traded. So, stay tuned for that. If you guys don't watch the draft and you love football, you need to watch the draft. It's at least the first round. The first round is exciting. So I highly recommend it. But thanks for listening to our arguments, our opinions. And as always, peace.